going on, guys? Back in the garage again. Gonna continue on this 3.7 engine install on a Jeep Liberty. As you can see, I got her in there, and I took this to the car wash because I forgot to power clean that, which I did. Now it looks pretty and new. I'm gonna be tightening down the NOx sensors. Had to verify what bank was what. I wasn't sure if they labeled the banks as opposed to sitting in the driver's seat or facing the engine like we are now, which they are installed right. This being left bank, that being right bank, as opposed to sitting into the driver's seat. So that's the way I got them set up. That's the way I figured they were. So I still got to install these, just tighten them down. Then I have to install the dipstick tube, which goes right there. I'm going to clean off the flanges. Then I'm going to install the intake manifold and get as much stuff as I can on it, buttoned down. Just got a couple hours this afternoon to do this, so I'm going to do that. And that's pretty much what I've got going on for today. And I'll be at a stopping point and I'll continue on the video. So I apologize about the delay on the videos in between, but it is what it is. My wife's away on, she's in the reserves, the military reserves. She's on her 2-week drill, so I'm a single daddy right now, handling the duties, and I'm trying to get this done as much as I can with the little time I do have. So I should have this thing done this weekend and back to the owners. So from that point on, I'm gonna get this party started. It's always a blast putting on stuff from the rear head. Love it. Now it's time to put on the fuel rail. I didn't film it real quick because, I mean, I should have, but I was just caught in the moment. It's pretty self-explanatory. I just laid the harness over and connected the injector harness where it should be. I put the fuel rail, fuel line on, and just connect the dots with the connectors, the throttle position, and idle air control, temperature sensors, map sensor, injectors, oil pressure sensor, and I also connected the throttle cables. So pretty much, all in all, I'm pretty much done for today. This is what I wanted to do. I got it done. Kudos. So it sets me up for the next day I come in. I'll be able to finish putting the stuff in. The heater core lines, the radiator reservoir, and everything else, and just kind of button everything up, go over everything again, make sure everything's as it should be, prime it with oil, add the spark plugs, the coil packs, and then fire it up. So all in all, it's done for today, and I'll see you guys back on Friday. What's going on, guys? Back here for another day. We're gonna get this Jeep going. We're gonna get quite a bit done this afternoon. I gotta go into work for tomorrow, so I gotta knock some things out. I still gotta get this thing done by the end of the weekend. And on top of that, I was driving my truck yesterday and my freaking transmission started messing up, giving me transmission fault codes, and it's not wanting to go into gear, and when I get it to go into gear, it's clunking around. So man, when it rains it pours, I tell you what. So that's yet again gonna put me off on the dots, and that's gonna get in the way. But I have to get my vehicle going. That is my family vehicle. So after I'm done with this Jeep, I'm gonna be working on my F-150, trying to figure out the transmission related problems. Hopefully it's something that I can fix. Hopefully it's something in the valve body. I checked the fluid level. The fluid level looks good. The color of the fluid looks good. I think it's related to me towing that trailer around a lot in the heavy winds. It kind of took a toll on it. It's just a 4.6 liter V8 engine on it. It's not the 5.4. So who knows? I mean, it's got 210,000 miles. I'm the original owner on it, but it was bound to happen, I guess. So it just happened at the wrong time, like always. When's it ever convenient for your vehicle to break down? But we're gonna go ahead and get this thing knocked out. I'm gonna try to get as much as I can done on it. Hopefully I can get everything together on it, and I doubt I'll be able to fire it up today, but at least get majority of everything completed on this vehicle. Alright, got it all up, snugged up. Got the connections where they should be. I was kind of worried about this little loose connection on the end. Turned out it's for the O2 sensor. This right here is pretty much the same thing. Goes down to your cam sensor and your crank sensor. So I'm going to go ahead and raise the vehicle at this point. I'm going to go ahead and secure the engine grounds to the engine studs, and then finish off the connections on the bottom. And then from there I'll move back onto the top, doing the radiator, the hoses, and the belt assembly, and move on from there. Alright guys, I got the cam sensor connected. I have the crank sensor connected. I have the O2 sensors in the front connected. Can't really see it. It's a connector up here, right there. It's connected. Ground's connected on each side. So everything right here is pretty much done. Just the O2 sensor right here. The harness isn't hanging down in the back. I gotta go back to the top, fish it back down, and connect that. Starter's connected. Let's see. Yep, Joseph did connect the back hanger for me, and he did install the V-bands on the the mid pipes. So that is good. So progress is good. I'm going to go ahead and try to find the connector for the O2 sensor, and then after that I'll connect it and we'll move on. Alright, I got the connector fished down and I went ahead and connected it. So that pretty much looks like that's all that needs to be done on the bottom. I'm going to ensure that the oil pan plug is tight for when I add oil. But yep, looks good on the bottom. I'm going to move on to the top. Connect it. That's how they lay on the side right there. This right here is going to connect to the reservoir whenever I put that on. So now I'm going to install the belt. Alright, so looking at the belt routing diagram, this is how it's supposed to be. So whenever I go ahead and I loosen the tension on it, it'll allow me to slip it over the water pump, and that'll be that. There you have it, one belt installed. Alright guys, time for the radiator install. This is what we got going on next, so I'm gonna knock that out. Okay, wow, what a weasel of a job. Got it in without taking the compressor back off. Just had to move the condenser over enough to clear the mounting tabs on the passenger side here. But I forgot while I had this tab out, I got the tab out so I can get access to the mounts right there. Also same right here. So that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to go ahead and mount the radiator down, and then I'm going to mount the condenser down, and then install this back in here. Okay, got it all in there. Had to fight this little rubber guard right here for the bottom mount. It mounts on these little hooks on the bottom. It slides in on the bottom, and that gives it the holding points on the bottom, and then you got your bolts right here that mount on each side. Just took me a little bit of weaseling, but I got it done. These connectors here, they were actually crimped in, so I'm gonna have to resolder these in. Not a big deal. And now I guess we can go ahead and mount the radiator reservoir. Okay, the way that this mounts here, it's in the way of the spark plug, so I just got it on there loose for now. So after I prime the engine with oil, I'll be able to take that off and move it to the side to get the spark plugs in. So I'm just gonna leave that as is for now. But I got the clamp on the bottom right there for the feed hose, and that's pretty much that right there. And now I'm going to go ahead and install the PCV right here on the hose. I got the cap still on the back right there. As you can see, those are actually breather connectors that go right there in that place. But for priming the engine with oil, it seems like every time that I have to prime an engine with oil, I always have to put compressed air in the dipstick tube to help force the oil up through the oil pickup tube. So with that being said, I'm going to leave those plugs in until after I have it primed, and after I have it primed, I'll go ahead and I'll install these in there. But making good headway. This thing went together pretty quick, so I guess from here on out, I still got to get new radiator hoses. I just discussed with the owner we need new radiator hoses, so I'm going to buy new radiator hoses and install that PCV. I'm going to add some oil. I'm going to make my connections. I guess I could connect the cooler lines for the transmission right now, and pretty much it's real close. I mean, it's really close. So I'm gonna do the cooler lines, and then I'll probably go pick up some parts.
I think that when I'm high, I'm over you. I hope that when I die, I'm close to you, to you, to you, to you. Look at all the songs.
Got the spring clamp on that end, the screw clamp on that end, screw clamp, spring clamp. I think the spring clamps will work just fine. Sometimes on aftermarket hoses, the spring clamps don't work that well, but we'll give these a try and see how it works out. But cool, they're on. We move on.
Someone tell my mom I'm sorry, yeah. I don't have to feel this way, this way. Everything.
All right, PCV valves in, routed to the intake manifold here, and then this connection here is for the brake booster.
I think that when I'm high, I'm over you. I think that when I'm high, I'm over you. I don't know why I feel this way, this way. Everything permanent falls apart. I know I can kill this pain. Someone tell my mom I'm sorry. I don't have to feel this way.
Soldering connections complete. Heat shrink is complete. Time to move on.
Someone tell my mom I'm sorry.
This right here also shows you how bad it was. The tab inside was broken. That's why I'm replacing it. But I noticed when I took the electrical tape off that the wires were frayed and showing on the connector right here, and they were actually touching together. So this connector was actually shorted. So it's a really good thing that I decided to do that, because that would have created nothing but problems whenever I cranked the engine.
To you, to you, to you.
And there we go. Nice and repaired. Nice clean connection. It's gonna do its purpose. All right, I'm back. I got the battery on it, got the connections cleaned up, got it installed with the clamp, and everything right now is ready to prime. I turned it over real quick to see if I can get the oil pump to prime. As it sits, it will not prime on its own. typical. I run into this every time. So I'm gonna have to put some compressed air in the dipstick tube and put my regulator down on a low pressure so I don't blast too much pressure in there. And then I'm gonna have Joseph turn the engine over once he gets off of work later this evening. So I'm gonna wait until he gets back till I do that. And once I get the engine primed up with oil, then I'll be able to put the spark plugs in, crank it, let it run for just a quick second, make sure I don't get any engine codes, and then put the intake on. There's no sensors on the intake, so that's fine. And it's fine where it is. And then I'll add coolant, and hopefully none of this leaks on the damn hoses. Sometimes the spring clamps work fine, sometimes they don't. With aftermarket hoses, seems like it clamped on it good, but we'll find out when I add coolant to it. And then it'll be done. I'll be able to test drive it after that. So I'll get back to you guys later this evening when Joseph gets off of work. Alright guys, when I was filming yesterday, my battery gave out because I had the camera running too long and I didn't bring my charger. So being I had a deadline, I had to carry on. But I got everything in together. I got the engine primed. I have to put a couple hoses on there now. I have to put the hood on, add coolant, and then she should be done after that. Oh yeah, I also got to put the radiator core support on, and that will be it. And then I'll crank it, get it running and warmed up the temperature, make sure the thermostat opens, make sure I bleed the coolant system, make sure everything's good fluid wise. I do need to add some more power steering fluid, and then it'll give me a chance while it's running to check the transmission fluid and see if that level's good as well. Because whenever this vehicle leaves here, I want to make sure that everything fluid wise, mechanical wise, electrical wise, solid. So no whammies whenever they leave. They can enjoy it, drive it for a long time, and not have to worry for a year about any mechanical failures internally in the motor, because that will be covered under the warranty. The checklist they gave me is completed. Everything's done. It's good to go. So I filled it up, 2 gallons in the reservoir. Then it started filling up because it was creating an air pocket in the block. That's what this is for, it's a bleed. Opened that up. Once I did, it went completely dry. So that's how much you, well, that's how you bleed the system, basically. You do that, you know, fill it up until it gets up to level, and you can also look in here, tell you when it's about full. And then that way when you go to start it, you ain't got to worry about air pockets as much. But that doesn't solve every problem when you're bleeding the system, but it definitely helps. Okay guys, I got coolant in it. Probably gonna need more coolant once I start it and get things circulated. I filled it up from with a funnel. I filled it up on the back side of the system till it didn't bleed down anymore. So that's good to go. So from there, it's time, moment of truth. We'll start it, let it warm up, and see what happens. Key. Tail light's gone, because I'd primed it prior. It's good. Idling at 1,000 RPM, it'll go down once it warms up. Seems to be running pretty smooth. Alright guys, so I'm taking it on a test drive. As you can tell, cruising along. Temperature's constant in the middle, that's where it should be. There's no check engine lights, nothing going on, no codes. Got the AC blasting, feels great. Everything in here seems to be operating as it should be. No problems so far, so I'm going to go back to the shop. I'm going to go ahead and put it back on the lift. Just go through it all again, make sure everything is good, no leaks, no nothing. And from there I'll call the customer and he can come get his vehicle and everybody will be happy. Alright, I got it up in there guys, everything looks good. No leaks, no wear, everything's nice and clean. Just like it should be with a new engine. My fluid levels all look good. I call this a success. So here's the motor purring away. Sounds really good. Nice and smooth. I think they'll be very happy with it. So on that guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this episode. That's going to conclude the Jeep Liberty engine motor swap. Next episode's going to be me working on the transmission in my Ford F-150 because it went out, and I'll get that done, and then after that we'll get back to the Datsun build. Thank you for being patient on that. I got to prioritize, you know, my vehicles. The F-150 definitely got to get fixed. That's a family vehicle. So cool. It's a done deal. Hope you guys learned something out of this. Go ahead, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.